Hello, and welcome to the Comic Conspiracy episode number 131 for the week of November 4th, 2013. I'm Ryan Higgins, who is here on the podcast with me this week.
Brock Sager.
Toby.
Oh, jeez. And Toby, and that's it. No Charlie, he had some work stuff. No Bryce, he's out. No Omar, he is sick. So, yeah, we have no one here this week, just the three of us. So, hopefully you enjoy it.
Just the three.
We'll try to keep it a short podcast.
Shut the fuck up. God.
Well,
how long was last week's episode?
Like, just shy of 2 hours.
Oh, Jesus.
So, this could be like a 45-minute long podcast just to make up for last week's.
Last week was pretty good, though. I like last week's podcast.
Yeah. If anyone actually listened to the end, let me know what you thought of it. So, because I'm sure most people killed themselves about an hour and 30 minutes into it. So, yeah, we got a whole bunch of questions this week. Let's start with it. Start with Brock's friend Mitchell, who wrote in, said, Damian, son of Batman, is it worth reading or not? See, here's the thing that sucks. So many people wrote in about Green Lantern this week. I really want Charlie to be here. So, Charlie, if you're listening, or one of you remind me next week, we have to have Charlie's rant about Green Lantern. Okay. But we'll get to that in a minute. But Brock, I know you read Damian. What do you think?
It was okay. I mean, it wasn't grandiose. It didn't suck. It was just okay. It was an okay read.
Which is weird because I think some of the websites say it sucked big time.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting, but it didn't. Like, I'll read the next issue and see where it goes, but yeah, it didn't.
No, I haven't read it yet. I have it on my repal. I actually borrowed it from the shop. The reason why I haven't jumped on it yet is it seems like Damian is a lot bigger and older.
Yeah,
which is weird to me. I kind of like young.
Well, it starts
young Damian.
It starts and said years from now.
Yeah.
Like, that's how the book
really?
opens. Yeah. So, is this in continuity? Because it's very clear that they could bring Damian back if they want to. So, I wonder if they're going to just be like, just make it a thing and don't worry about continuity. Or if, like, this is actually going to be acknowledged. I don't know.
I was curious about that.
I do want to say, though, Mitchell, it's official. You are a comic book geek. You took pictures of books you received in the mail and posted them on the internet.
If you've read into a comic book podcast, you're a comic book geek. So, there you go.
Thank you for the question, Mitchell.
This is from Joshua on Twitter. He asks, what is our opinion on Forever Evil? He is enjoying it very much. I believe at least two of the three people here at this table are also enjoying it very much. I don't know. Toby, have you talked about... You caught up on Forever Evil yet?
I think I'm number 2.
Because, 3's out this week. So.
Oh, yeah.
Or this upcoming week.
I enjoy it. I'll continue reading it. But I definitely don't enjoy it for one major part. So
what's that?
But I made Nightwing look like a little bitch. I think Nightwing needs to have a little revenge. I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to Nightwing going to the shadows and build his little Black Ops outsider team. And, he's going to come back and take revenge with Alcalad. He's going to save the day. Go Nightwing. I believe in you, buddy.
I've been enjoying the main book. I've read some of the tie-ins, like Arkham War, Rogues Rebellion, and Argus that was out this week.
Yeah, how was that Argus one? I haven't read that yet.
Surprisingly enough, it was actually enjoyable.
Because I think that's, of the three, that seems the least popular by a pretty large margin.
But no, I enjoyed it. It kind of dove into Steve's background. I always forget his last name.
Steve Trevor?
Trevor, that's it. It dove into his background, like when he met Wonder Woman and stuff in the New 52, and kind of what their, like, that book is, that issue was better than an episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Like Argus does something, like they're doing stuff in the thing, and it's like, it's really interesting. It's a good read.
Yeah,
I recommend if you get a chance to at least pick it up and flip through it. But I've enjoyed it. Rogues Rebellion's really great. It's got the rogues. All they want to do is steal shit or like make money and be criminals. They are not in the game for world domination or any of that stuff.
Right.
And it's really cool to see them kind of in the middle.
Right.
Of everything.
Right. Well, it always happens with the rogues is that while they are criminals, they are not super villains, right? They've always kind of had this thing, and they're like, we're really not, like, we don't want world domination, we don't want to kill people, we don't want to do all this stuff. So, it's interesting to see what
they're like bank robbers with powers.
Yeah. Well, there. I mean, that's.
But they're consistent, which is really, I think, which is why a lot of people like really enjoy the rogues. Is they're
I love
always
the rogues.
consistent.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Also, Forever Evil. This is from Ryan, not myself, Ryan Hess. He wrote this a couple weeks ago.
Ryan S. is not Ryan Scott.
Hess.
Oh, Hess. Okay.
He wrote this a couple weeks ago and said, "Hey guys, I can't recall if you guys discussed Forever Evil #2, so spoiler alert." And I don't think we actually talked about Forever Evil #2. Like we talked around it, but because 3's out in a couple days, so next week, and then when Charlie's back, especially because I'm sure he'll have a lot to say about it, we'll sit down and talk about 2 and 3. But this is spoilers for 2. Well, kind of. So be aware if you haven't read 2, you may want to fast forward a minute or 2 here. But he says, in issue 2, the crime syndicate has a hooded prisoner that Ultraman wants to keep alive despite the other members wanting to kill him. The character was described as nearly tearing apart the villainous team, but Ultraman points out that he may be useful should the Nemesis, the destroyer of Earth 3, return. There's also a point where Owlman says if they don't kill the prisoner, the recently outed Dick Grayson will not be killed either. Do you have any thoughts who this could be? I've heard people with all sorts of rumors from Wally West, Dick Grayson, or the Joker of Earth 3, Alexander Luthor, and even the Monitor. Hopefully this isn't something completely obvious. But thanks for your time anyway. No, I don't. It isn't obvious. I mean, I don't know who. Yeah. I remember the scene. I don't know who it could be. I know there's an article. I was just looking up. There's an article on Newsarama that had suggested a few different people. But I think this is not something we'll find out right away.
Yeah.
And something that will be sort of a mystery of it. You know, who is this mysterious person?
Well, Johns has done a good job in the past of keeping kind of those characters pretty well shrouded until the moment of reveal. Like, I mean, in Brightest Day, when it was Swamp Thing that came back, it was like, whoa, shit.
Yeah, I mean, the whole point of these characters is to keep them hidden so you don't know who it is. And, you know, maybe I'm sure they'll make a few hints, but yeah, I mean, they set Martian Manhunter up in New 52 is kind of like a traitor. There's no Martian Manhunter. Am I blank? Am I misremembering? They haven't shown any sort of Martian Manhunter in Forever Evil. Have they?
They show, well, in Justice
League. Like an evil one?
The white one?
No, like the crime syndicate version.
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so either. So it could be, but I don't know. It could be Batman. A
it
Batman.
Would be cool if it was Joker.
Some sort of Batman. Yeah. Right, because
the Joker in their world is good.
Well, and Luthor should be too.
Yeah.
Because that's the Alexander Luthor, the original crime syndicate guys. Alexander Luthor was the one hero, and he traveled to the regular world especially during Crisis on Infinite Earths, and he was one of the main kind of architects of trying to save the multiverse.
Yes.
With the Justice League and everything. So that'd be cool if there was kind of a flashback to that.
Did you guys read the Justice League one? Did we talk about that?
The Justice League of America
that it gave Ultraman a new origin. Well,
it
was 52 origin as opposed to the Grant Morrison origin.
I liked it. I thought it was interesting. I mean, we're getting more details, I think, with the New 52 and the Forever Evil on some of these characters. Because, I mean, reading, Earth 2 and a couple of the, Countdown books, the Ray Palmer, Search for Ray Palmer, and, seeing some of the Elseworld stuff, we never really got, a good, solid background. And this gave at least a good kind of montage-ish background to him, so we have more little tidbits of information.
Yeah. I just kind of enjoyed the Grant Morrison version where it's not directly opposites. He's not a mirror. Lois Lane was technically the Superman of the book, Ultraman was a human that got powers later. I kind of like that indifferent, even though they're the mirror bad versions of the Justice League, that they were indifferent in many ways, that they weren't direct images, like mirror images. So I kind of enjoyed that in the Grant Morrison run, and kind of it's too bad to see that to go away at this point. So, but that's my opinion.
Well, I still like that he has to eat kryptonite. Or whatever.
Snort it,
whatever. Ingest it somehow. Yeah. I still like that they kept that aspect of it.
All right, let's see. Stefano here asks, with the new season of Comic Book Men airing, it must be asked, has a shop gotten, that's a nice one, any odd stuff from people looking to cash in?
Oh, yes. Sorry, Ryan, I had to say that right away.
Always. We've gotten a few calls. I've gotten some, I got some old comics from the 90s. We always get those, though. It does feel like when that show starts up, a few more people call. But me and Brock, over the course of the last 2 days, have some of you may remember our good friend and actually was on this podcast as well, Sam, who worked here for a number of years, had passed away last year,
a little over a year ago.
Yeah, maybe close to a year and a half ago. We've been slowly in the process of helping his family go through his books and collections, and not just his collection, but the collections that he bought from other people. Man, I'm just going to go out there and tell you guys, organize your stuff, keep it clean, because someone eventually someday is going to go through it, and it is a disaster.
Yeah, I don't mind boards and bags and tape, but if you're going to put a comic in a bag and tape it, don't tape it from the fucking bottom up. I shit you not. That's one of the worst things to fucking do. It's like you have this flap sitting there, and all this dust can just get caught inside of that thing. I'm like, really?
We've been sorting through for the last year and a half, but then this last week, about 250 long boxes from this collection and collections of collections. This week we picked up another 40 boxes, 40, 50 boxes or so, and it's just like, man, if there's one thing working in the store has taught me, it's keep your shit in order, because one day when someone goes through your stuff, they're going to be so happy to see everything is perfect and in order. Because, man, it makes such a difference. And I'm telling you, from a totally monetary point of view, if your stuff's in order, a store is going to give you a whole lot more money for it, because that's a lot less work that they have to do.
Well, and the thing is if you do it, like you keep your shit organized and you randomly kick the bucket and your family goes through it, if your family knows enough about you and how you did things, chunk. I mean, they can sell stuff in chunks instead of having to deal with all the random bullshit. Because that's a lot of the problem is we go through collections that are they're like reading collections. Like, I read the book, I put it in a box. I read the book, I put it in a box.
Yeah.
And
that's Toby.
Agreed. It's me. My bookshelves are kind of organized at this point, though. I'm slowly going through my bookshelves and realize how many hardcovers and trades I'm missing. So, slowly I'm starting to freak out because a lot of the stuff is getting out of print. And I'm like, occasionally, like a Monday, because usually I do it over the weekends. Mondays, I'm like, hey, Ryan, on instant message, and I'm like, hey, this book and this book still in print? Ryan goes like, no. I'm like, crap. Then I go, Amazon, is it still there? Oh, I gotta order it now.
That's $80 on Amazon. Yeah. So.
No, I mean, they're really good. I did Uncanny X-Force, the 2 hardcovers. I got them for 20-something each.
That's not bad.
Yeah, it was pretty good. Yeah. I mean, you can't order them anymore, so sorry. Had to go elsewhere, Ryan.
It's all good. Yeah, man. Ugh, collections, comic books. They're the worst. They could be great.
After I listened to you guys' story, though, I did say, I'm like, maybe I should just get rid of my junk. Just literally, I mean, if I die tonight, I don't really want anybody to go through that shit. I really don't. So,
well, yeah. I think there's a difference if it's there and organized and clean and sort of, like people know what to do. This, I mean, we're grabbing boxes, and I'm like, well, half of this box is full of garbage, and half of it's full of comic books. Like, I don't mean like, stuff that's not worth anything. I mean garbage, like literally trash. And I'm like, I can't.
Well, my boxes may have some toys just to hold them because I don't like the books like rolling around. So I might put a box of toys in there or something.
Yeah.
It's you go through a box and you'll get random independent shit, Marvel, DC, Marvel, and it's just not, when they're in order, they're just so much nicer and easier to deal with. One of us,
I don't know if this is before you got here, Brock. I can't remember who went through, because I had some friends helping me out to go through this stuff because there's just so much. And there's this again that
we have at least 2 more trips.
That it's like porn. Archie.
That was Marshall. I was here for that.
Porn. And it's like, oh, God, guys.
Really? Archie porn box?
X-Men. Porn.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what they were doing? They were putting the Archies in as a placeholder for when they put the cherries in.
More porn?
Yeah. So they were going to swap it out, but they never got a chance.
You don't think that was just bathroom reading, that either he felt like Archie or he felt like porn?
Yeah, I don't know, the nephews were over and I had to read some quality. I couldn't read porn in the bathroom anymore. Jesus.
All right, let's see. Jonathan asks our thoughts on Pretty Deadly, the new Image title.
The one that, what's that store rips up for you?
Oh yeah, whatever. And the future of Aquaman with John, or lack thereof, with John's leaving.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the Aquaman thing, I got a number of people here. Let's do Pretty Deadly first.
Yeah, Pretty Deadly is easy.
That's Kelly Sue DeConnick, who is writing this, who's done some. She's worked on Captain Marvel for Marvel and a few other books. One of the Image's big releases, probably their biggest release this month. Last month, I guess I would say it's probably the biggest release of last month for the most part, at least of a new title. I read it. I think Brock read it. I don't. Toby, did you get a chance to read this one yet?
I didn't know you had it. I didn't know you didn't rip it up and
threw it in the
trash.
Well, it's funny you mention that.
There's another book that you threw. All of Marvel you ripped up and threw it in the trash because you're a DC store.
This is on Bleeding Cool and Comic Resources and stuff. Some store owner apparently ripped up a copy of the book in front of customers and said it was dumb, and he's done it with other stuff and whatever. Whatever. I mean, if you're ripping up a copy of a book a guy's trying to buy, I guess that's stupid. But I would. I've ripped up comic books before. I rip up comic books all the time to do returns and stuff like that. So maybe he was like, I'll just preemptively tear up this copy I'm never going to sell.
Yeah.
But anyway, I read it. I thought, I don't have the artist name in front of me. I thought the art was incredible. Yeah, the art was good. I loved the art in that book. I think the story was an absolute mess. Yeah. Made no sense. Just complete gibberish. And I think...
Was it a Top Cow book then?
No, it's an Image book. I think
a pilot.
It's about a girl. It's like the Old West, and it's about a girl who follows some guy around, and they kill people for some reason.
Okay, what's wrong with that?
There seemed to be two different stories running through the book at one point. And
I think the problem is there was not a story in the book.
No, there wasn't a solid story in the book. Like
it just scenes happened, and there was okay.
Yeah, it seemed like there was something missing. Like there was like a panel here or a page here that could have.
Maybe it'll make sense in the later issues.
Maybe. I mean, it's pretty enough. I'll try it again. Yeah. But I don't know.
Was it like very anti-Christianity, or is it very anti? Why would this guy hate it so much to rip it up in his store and not sell it to people? Like, was there something really offensive?
He said it was just nonsensical gibberish, and I agree.
Okay.
Yeah. But
that doesn't give him a reason to do that. I mean, there's a lot of bad books.
Or
nonsensical books.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So there was nothing offensive in the book? I was just really curious. I was like...
No.
Huh.
Like, I'm going to have to talk about this guy. I mean, that had nothing to do with it.
Yeah,
Of course, all over the internet, this thing's getting like 5.5 stars,
really?
out of 4, right?
Is it because of the art?
It's because it's Kelly Sue DeConnick, and people like her for some reason. So yeah, there you go.
So maybe one of those books like the Jim Henson book where you have to go on lack of sleep and see things?
Maybe. Okay. Maybe.
Natural psychedelics.
There is...
You have to go into an Indian sweat house.
See, there is
sweat the shit out and then read it.
There's Grant Morrison nonsensical, and then this. And this is just like this is just poorly written.
Maybe I do want to read it. Maybe it'll make perfect sense. Maybe I'll ooh.
I know where you have to read. You have to go out to the Joshua Tree and read this shit. That's what you got to do.
What's the Joshua Tree?
It's this
I'm a dare to
tree
ask.
thing out in the desert down in Southern California, right?
G2 song.
I'm sticking to just not sleeping.
Do some mushrooms.
I'll just stick to not sleeping, and then eventually things will just come.
Well, here's at least on Aquaman.
So now we're on Aquaman.
Well, Aquaman brings up Green Lantern. Because we have seen what happens when a character leaves a book. So I'm gonna.
Well, we haven't talked about that yet.
You can see when a writer leaves a book, not a character. The character tends to stay in the book.
Green Lantern sucks because Green Lantern's not even on it.
When a writer,
that would make sense.
When a writer leaves the book, and I'm going to read a few of the comments I got here.
Aquaman sucks because it's just about the dolphin now.
That'd be awesome. Read
and some random hand.
And his name is Echo.
I'm going to read a couple comments here. One comment is about DC Comics shoving those mostly pedestrian annuals up fans' asses for $5 a pop.
Was that Trip?
No.
Okay.
Let's see. Besides Green Lantern, any other instance of a great series turning into utter trash after a creative shift? And then I did have one more comment here as... Opinions on new writer of Green Lantern just taking everything Johns did and shitting all over it.
Oh, ouch.
Now,
hey, I told you the Brown Lanterns would win in the end.
Now, I have read the first issue of Green Lantern past John's leaving, and I think we all made our opinions very clear that holy fuck, how off the rails has this series gone on one issue? Like, I never want to say something as bad as Chuck Austin's issue of New X-Men after Grant Morrison left, because that to me is the high bar of an absolute failure on every single conceivable level of a creative team shift, to the point of the writer did not understand base aspects of the events of the book prior. This seems like a second place to that, though. Because, again, my feeling, and we talked about that issue 21, that they did not understand how the Green Lantern battery worked. I mean, this is base character concepts. I mean, it would be Superman in his ice vision, right? Like, that is how wrong the writer got elements of this book.
I thought DC is so run by editors now, and they didn't catch any of that shit?
You got me. So I have kind of stayed away. They're in my stack. I'm going to read it. However, I had the I had Charlie express to me his feelings of the annual over the weekend, and I really wish Charlie was here just to talk about this. But next week we
should just record that on video and put it up on YouTube. It could be very interesting.
We will hear Charlie's thoughts on the Lights Out crossover. But Brock, since you have read the entire crossover, let's hear your thoughts, and then we'll get to Aquaman.
Lights Out.
Well, give us sort of this is going to be spoilers for the Lights Out crossover too, if you've not read it.
So John's run on Green Lantern ended with the story arc, The End, and that's pretty much where they should have stopped.
Well, okay, they're not going to not do a Green Lantern comic book. However, the way they ended the Green Lantern book, it kind of set up, well, here's some possibility things you can run with, and then we have this future. Obviously, go to it if you want, whatever, but it finished his sort of run, left the characters in a decent place.
I think the problem was when we talked about this with the issue 21, is it went from Johns' run to the next thing. Like we didn't even get these creative teams time to breathe and kind of, because at that point it was a good stopping point to kind of reset and say, hey, Hal is in charge of the Green Lantern Corps now. What is the Green Lantern Corps doing? What is Kyle doing? Kind of these, give us an issue or two where we kind of see where these characters
between 20 and 21 of Green Lantern, it's like 10 issues took place in between them. Yeah, it makes no sense.
Yeah, and then you go into Lights Out, and it makes no sense reading any single book by itself. Like, you have to read them in order. And when you kind of adhere... But to
be fair, that's most crossovers.
Well, yeah. But to be... Like, Red Lanterns, you could probably read a little bit off because it's separate. But, again, it's... summing it up, Oa's destroyed. The batteries are destroyed. The Blue Lanterns are gone. Guy Gardner's now a Red Lantern.
I could see that, though.
Well, no, he was a Red Lantern for Brightest Day.
I could kind of see him as a Red Lantern.
Kyle is figuring himself out again, and and John Stewart basically does what John Stewart does, and he's a badass soldier. But Relic's character is a villain that comes in and says, "My universe was destroyed because you sucked the emotional spectrum dry, so I'm going to stop you from doing that and kill all you lightsmiths," as he likes to call them, even though they're lanterns. And the annual that ended Lights Out, which came out this week, he gets pushed into the Source Wall, which, if nobody knows what the Source Wall is, it's basically the edge of the universe, and anything that touches the Source Wall becomes part of the Source Wall. So he's pushed in, Kyle gets thrown into the Source Wall and disappears and is presumed dead, but he's not dead, he's alive, but nobody can know that he's alive, according to the hippie.
But with this, don't they also
Guardians.
they kill the lantern creatures, right?
The entities go into Kyle, all of them, except for I don't know if Orange was with them. I'm not sure. But Kyle,
you guys saying that it's going to be just Green Lanterns after this again, like it was.
No, there's still
there's still others.
There's still others, but like they sacrificed themselves on the other side of the wall, but you don't see what happens.
Yeah, it feels to me like a lot of retconning John's ideas, which were the sole things that made Green Lantern the dominant force at DC for close to a decade.
Mm-hmm.
Why wouldn't you just take those ideas and continue to expand on them? Why retract them back and get rid of the predominant ideas that John's introduced in his run? To me, it makes no sense. And Charlie had done some research and went into a little bit more depth. So we'll maybe I'll see if I can read those by next week too. Although,
well, and then the Yellow Lanterns weren't even around. Gone. They didn't even pop up.
Yeah. Well, Sinestro's gone, and so they shouldn't be there.
But it's. I would say I haven't read that Chuck Dixon issue after Morrison's run.
Chuck Austin,
sorry.
I was going to say, be very careful when you say Chuck Dixon.
Yeah, sorry.
Chuck Austin.
But this was pretty bad.
Yeah.
Bad.
And that's my fear of Aquaman. Jeff Parker is taking over Aquaman after Jeff Johns leaves. Now, here's the thing about Jeff Parker for me. I don't know if he's a good writer or not, because everything he's ever written, people love him on the internet, which means no one buys his work. Because every book he writes, I could care less about. He wrote Exiles. He wrote Agents of Atlas. He wrote...
Agents of Atlas wasn't bad.
Yeah, I looked at it and I was like, yeah, I have no interest. He wrote... There was one or two other things he wrote. He's been writing a lot of the digital stuff for DC, which I could care less about. So, to me, Aquaman for me will be this sort of, can Jeff Parker, is he a good writer? Because Aquaman has been, I would say, one of the stronger New 52 books overall. I think Johns has been doing a fantastic job.
Well, and Johns has been doing a great job kind of setting up like the back history of Aquaman.
Yeah.
And the reveal from issue 24 at the end of the thing was really, really good.
Yeah.
I don't want to spoil it because it's actually really good. And then and the annual that came out was written by John Ostrander.
Yeah.
Which wasn't bad, but you can tell it was kind of like, hey, we need you to write a story about...
Well, it sucks, and this goes back to the comment about these $5 annuals. All the annuals up until this point have been the starts or ends or real important parts of story arcs. Mm-hmm. I guess it is with Green Lantern, but it sucked. A lot of these annuals that came out this week are like, oh, I guess it's just a thing. And they feel so inconsequential. Yeah. And the events they're tied around are like just nothing. No one cares
Nightwing?
About.
Nightwing was actually really good.
Toby, you grabbed that one. The Nightwing Batgirl annual.
Yes. It's because I love to cover. I bought 2 of those.
It was fine.
I haven't read it yet.
No, it was really good. They took the story was basically about Dick is leaving for Chicago and packing up, and him and Barbara kind of go and take care of some stuff, and she's not in costume. She's in the ski mask and stuff like that. But it's kind of nice because it's not tied in with Forever Evil. It's not tied in with it's tied in with Batgirl Wanted because that makes sense. That's why she's not wearing the cowl. So I really enjoyed it, and I don't read Nightwing on a regular basis. I picked it up because it was a tie-in with Batgirl, and I thought it worked perfectly fine.
You and your Nightwing hate, dude.
I don't know why. I just don't like Dick.
All right, so we got another comment here. This is from Jason.
I'm flipping Brock off for everybody that's listening.
This is from Jason.
Can't see Vizu.
Now that X-Men Battle of the Atom is over, where do you see the X books going? Toby, did you get a chance to finish up Battle of the Atom?
I never started.
I thought you read those, no?
No, it's Charlie. This is all Charlie. Charlie's the master reader.
Yeah, no, I
get his cliff notes, and then I decide what I want to read after.
Oh, I thought you had read that. Brock, did you even read any of it?
Didn't even bother.
Okay.
No, it's Bryce and Charlie were the
Bryce and Charlie were really...
Okay.
But, I mean,
they're the master readers.
I've read all of Battle of the Atom. I have, as a general rule, I've actually really enjoyed all new X-Men, all right? Battle of the Atom is a perfect example. Okay, before I go into this, let me just say, I liked the first 6 parts of Battle of the Atom. Okay.
And how many parts was it?
8.
Okay.
9? Yeah, I think it's 9. Or maybe it's 10. Anyway, I liked basically up to the last 2 issues of Battle of the Atom. I think it's 10. it was you have the X-Men from the past, the X-Men of the current, and then these X-Men from the future have come back to the present and are like, those X-Men from the past are bad, and the X-Men, it's this big time travel thing where you have all these different takes on the X-Men. So then kind of do a flip halfway through the series, and it's like, oh, those X-Men from the future are actually the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants from the future. The real X-Men from the future are here. So now you have 3 X-Men teams fighting the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants.
From the future.
From the future. Again, actually you have 4 because you have Wolverine's team and Cyclops' team from the current, right? So you have both sides.
Cyclops has a team?
Yeah, Uncanny X-Men is the Cyclops team, which is Cyclops and Magic and...
There's that book still coming out?
Magneto, shut up. God, you're the worst. So Uncanny X-Men has been mostly okay outside of Goldball. But that's the Speedball guy that I hate. The not Speedball guy that I hate. But overall, I've actually this X-Men is kind of cool, right? I mean, we're obviously talking spoilers to this event, so if you haven't read it, again, fast forward. We're actually spoiling a lot of comic books this week instead of talking about industry stuff. But so sort of one of the big reveals is that there's a Zorn in the future. Zorn, if you remember, I hate to go back to Grant Morrison's new X-Men again.
It's a good run. Go back to it.
It's a great run. It was actually Magneto in disguise working alongside the X-Men that kind of traitorously turns on them. Chuck Austin's run completely destroys Zorn, again making it like some Chinese twins or some garbage, like we don't even talk about it, like making Zorn a character that wasn't actually just fucking Magneto, because that's who he is. He's just Magneto. And then Marvel, fortunately, I think, has completely gotten rid of Zorn in the current continuity. I haven't heard of Zorn in years. But Zorn is in the future. Turns out it's Jean Grey, right? So clearly they're sort of saying that Jean at some point is going to return, which, of course, all right? Mm-hmm. So
Jean's been dead for a good while.
Yeah, since the Grant Morrison are on a new X-Men. That's over 10 years. Just about 10 years. Just about 10 years.
Well, it's because they also got a really good replacement for Jean. That Emma Frost.
Oh, Emma Frost, yeah.
Emma Frost hooking up with Cyclops. I mean, it changed the whole dynamic and gave it a fresh spin to it.
Yeah,
so,
it does, very much so.
Very well done.
Yeah, she's like the Madeline Pryor, right, of kind of today. So overall, this was going okay, and I'm like, okay, this is neat. I can dig this. I like where this is going, but how do they end it? And in pure Bendis fashion, it completely falls apart in the last and ends with garbage, and nothing happens. It's like, how does this happen every single time? This kind of
you can mind wipe everybody.
It sort of happens with AVX. I mean, I guess technically stuff changes, but it really is minimal.
Well, AVX had those...
It happened really badly with Secret Invasion. The net gain in Secret Invasion was Mockingbird came back. That was the change. Mockingbird. Like,
hey, don't diss on the Mockingbird.
I'm just saying.
It's the Marvel Black Canary.
I'm just saying.
It was Mockingbird came back, and was it Norman Osborn... fired the gun that the shot was heard around the world or whatever.
Who cares?
I didn't like that Mockingbird broke up with Hawkeye, or Hawkeye broke up with her, and then she just kind of disappeared again.
Right. So,
man, those archers can't keep their fucking birds.
As this book comes to a conclusion, all that happens is that S.H.I.E.L.D. is like, oh, crap, there's a bunch of X-Men. I guess we should fire at them or something. And like their ship got taken over, and the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants tried to kill all the X-Men. And so a bunch of future X-Men die, meaning nothing happens because they're X-Men from an alternate timeline future. So no one actually dies. No one cares. They can't send the X-Kids back because of all this time travel garbage from Age of Ultron. However, they send all the future X-Men back who were able to travel in time, even though time travel's broken. They were able to travel in time, and then they were able to use, I'm assuming they used Doom's time travel machine, because that's what they always use. I can't remember if that's what it was, but I think it's a takeoff on that, to send them back. But they can't send the X-Men kids back for some reason.
No, it's because they can't go back. See, they sent them forward.
But they went back.
No, they went forward.
But the X-Men from the future went back.
No, they went back to where the past X-Men were?
No, they went back to the current, which is broken, and it's like
No, they went they went forward in time.
and wrapped around or something? The X-Men from the future came back to the current.
Yeah.
And they could send them back to the future, but they can't send the past X-Men who traveled to the future back to the past.
Yeah,
even though the future X-Men just traveled to their past.
Because they're going forward to the future, not back to the past.
But if time travel was broken in current...
Stop. We're giving people headaches. Time travel sucks.
If time travel is broken in the present, you can't travel back in time. How can you travel back in time to a present where time travel back in time is broken?
I know why. Because the island just moved.
Exactly.
I think time is just stuck in neutral.
Well, don't you know it's what's it called? A wibbly wobbly, timey-wimey?
Timey-wimey stuff, yeah. Timey-wimey stuff.
It's not a straight line, it's a wibbly wobbly.
And again, the end of all of this event and all this build-up is...
To kill
for some reason that is completely unexplained in the book, at least I'm not talking like an infinity unexplained. Like, I actually read this. Like, I actually was conscious when I read this. I think Kitty Pryde is just like, I'm sick of this. I'm going to go join Cyclops for some reason. And so she leaves Wolverine and the group. And like, okay, so the end goal of the end gain of all of this is Kitty Pryde
switching sides
goes from Wolverine's X-Men team to Cyclops' X-Men team, which is pretty much just the X-Men still. And there's very little difference. They try to paint Cyclops as a villain. He is not villainous at all. People come after him like he's a villain, but the X-Men have done nothing villainous. So
maybe they should.
Well, it's like.
I mean, you know all that rebranding of superheroes? Cyclops will make a really good villain.
He killed Professor X. That is his villainous act, even though he was under the control of Phoenix. So Cyclops has done nothing evil and has not acted in any evil way. Mm-hmm. Yet, the Uncanny X-Men are considered villains, despite doing no villainous things. So it's like why? Like, why can't they just end these things and do something with it? It just feels like,
you know what?
I could just feel Bryce gonna come and tell you exactly how the story really is.
No,
and that you read it all wrong.
No, I've read these. I've read these. So
I don't know. X-Men Legacy is still coming out. So
X-Men Legacy. Oh well, that's getting canceled.
Oh, finally.
Yeah. This last question here that we're actually we got two that tie in the things we're going to talk about here, so we'll do these as we're talking about stuff. This is from David on Twitter, who asks thoughts on Daredevil's Mark Waid's run. On Daredevil going digital only, and this does tie into one of the things we wanted to talk about this week, where Marvel's one of their weekly Infinite Comics, which is their online. Animated sort of comic series.
Just call them what they really are. Comic gifts.
Sure. They're just animated kind of panels and comic stuff. I've never read anyone that's read one. Maybe Charlie read one. I have no idea. But so far they've been these completely out of continuity or meaningless Wolverine and Iron Man stories and stuff like that. But apparently Mark Waid's final run in Daredevil, because he's ending at 36, is going to be this Daredevil Road Warrior miniseries, kind of like
starring Mel Gibson
mini event, and it's going to be sort of his last arc on Daredevil. It's going to be in continuity and sort of be his end of the run. So his kind of farewell to Daredevil is going to be this weekly digital motion comic that Marvel does. That, I mean, I honestly, dead honest, if you read these on a regular basis, hit me up on Twitter. Let me know, because I've yet to talk to someone who has read more than maybe like the initial one they first did. I don't know anyone buying these. I've talked to customers about it. We've never had people on the podcast tell us they listen to them or read them. I see people, listen to them too. There's sound effects and stuff like that too. But like, maybe Charlie reads them all and he's just not telling me. But I don't know anyone that even, like, most people haven't even heard of these. Like, there's very little promotion behind them. I mean, they pop up in Comixology, but that's it. Like, so.
Well, my thing is why are you taking Waid's last run in Daredevil and making a digital-only miniseries? Why aren't you just releasing it in the regular issue?
They probably fucked them in the ass. That's why.
Like, well,
I think it's a matter of just we need something to put on the digital site to get people to go and buy these.
Well, isn't Mark Waid already doing stuff over there?
On their digital site?
Yeah.
Like, he did one of, like, that Nova, like, that 2-part Nova Infinite Comics that launched around the time of AVX.
That nobody read.
I mean, exactly. I have no idea. No, I think that people read because they were pushing it. They did. I know they at least did a Daredevil. I'm sorry, a Wolverine one and I want to say a Ghost Rider one.
You said Iron Man earlier.
Or Iron Man, not Ghost Rider. I want to say they actually did a Ghost Rider one too, but I may be wrong on that. I think they just wrapped up the Iron Man one. But yeah, I mean, again, I just completely unaware of people that actually read these and pay for them and buy them.
Which is really sad because Daredevil has been, I mean, I didn't start from the beginning.
Waid's one's been amazing.
Yeah,
but
fantastic.
I jumped in around the crossovers with Spider-Man, and afterwards I've been enjoying reading the Daredevils. They've been good reads. They kind of harken back to kind of simpler, sort of style where there's a good build up in the books of a big baddie in it, but he has to work to get there. It's not just handed to him.
Right.
Well, how many issues is he doing online?
I mean, they don't say.
Because online they're usually half issues, right? I mean, they break them up into halves.
I actually just got a message here from Joshua on Twitter. Joshua was not too late. His comment was, probably too late, but can you guys talk about the massive waste in time and money the Battle of the Atom was? So there you go. Perfect timing, Josh. We just finished talking about it. So very good timing. Very good timing.
Can you keep ramping up the X-Men hate? Because I really do want to see Bryce driving through the store in his car one of these days.
What's funny is
I want to see that.
I legitimately have really liked the X-Men books post AVX. I think Battle of the Atom was just a giant misstep, and I actually liked the first 3/4 of it.
Yeah.
It didn't go anywhere.
Okay.
It just nothing happened. So nothing changed. Yeah.
So you're saying it's like boning and then no climax.
Yeah.
Okay,
no,
gotcha.
Yeah, no climax.
It's getting the X without the set.
Yeah. But yeah. So I don't know. I mean, again, if you read a lot of these, let me know.
The Infinites and
yeah,
stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't even looked at them. I haven't even cared. When it's digital only, I'm kind of like, whatever. If there's a lot of people talking about it, then I'll maybe try and check it out. But I mean, I don't hear people talking about a lot of the digital stuff, and the stuff that comes out digitally on most of the time that I read comes out in print.
Yeah,
like
all the DC stuff.
All the DC stuff. It's
some
like
of Marvel's has,
and they're okay, but in general, I don't think I've read any of the digital stuff from Marvel.
Yeah, if they're going to release this as a print miniseries afterwards and just take the animation aspects out of it, whatever, I guess that's fine. But it's disappointing that his last run is going to be this sort of digital-only motion comic and not just an actual
I wonder if it's going to be a separate story of the end of his run. You know what I mean? Is 36 going to be the end of his run and this is just kind of an extra story?
Maybe.
Maybe.
Because
otherwise, I want this to be in the omnibus that they're going to come out with, or in the hardcover. I don't want this out. To be like this weird thing that you can only own digitally, while the rest of the run is in hardcovers and trades. That would be really weird.
Well, it's like kind of with the Walking Dead had those couple of issues that you could only get the stories specifically in
Playboy, right?
that special or the Playboy or whatever.
Right, well, did that get included in the trades?
Nope.
I'm just not at all.
Nope.
They're just separate.
No, and they said that straight across, but it wasn't like you couldn't.
Was it a complete side story?
Yeah.
That's fine, I guess. I would still like to see them in the trades.
So we've got a few more things here. We have let's see. You know what? A while ago, I forgot to actually bring this up when we were talking about it. We were talking about what the heck was it? All those crappy comic books and stuff that you're trying to buy, or you're trying to sort through, and how you should always organize your comic books. I actually forgot to bring this up. This is a great article. There was last Thursday, came out on Yahoo Finance of all things.
Yeah.
It's like, what a weird. I don't know why this was
Well, it's
on there.
because they have so much interesting things to write about over there at Yahoo.
I guess, but this is a great article on Yahoo Finance called "Those Comics in Your Basement Probably Worthless," and they just show the perfect selection of late '80s, early '90s Marvel and DC with a McFarlane Spider-Man #1 thrown on top, and it's like whoever took this picture knew exactly what they were doing,
or they got just damn fucking lucky because
I guess
Yahoo generally is not that good.
Someone was watching out for them here because I see Forever People from the '90s and like the John Byrne Superman stuff, and so this article, I mean, it talks about this guy, Barry Smith, who sold his and this is where I get called a horrible comic snob, his lifetime collection of 1,200 comic books.
Wait,
yeah.
1,200?
Yeah, wake me when there's a few more zeros on that, and then we'll start talking.
I'm like, I purged my collection. I still have more than that.
Several hundred early issues of Marvel's X-Men. I'm assuming they mean the 90s X-Men, which his research suggested had grown in value every year. They sat in a storage unit, bagged and boarded for close to 2 decades. When Smith found himself unemployed and in need of money to support his wife and 2 daughters, he decided the time was right to cash in on the investment. The entire collection sold for about $500. I'm not too proud to admit I cried a bit, Smith said.
Well, we said it over and over and again. I mean, comic books are not for investing; they're for reading.
If you want to invest in comic books, get $250,000. Get maybe $500,000.
Yeah.
Go buy some mid-grade action. Buy a mid-grade Action Comics #1. Go get a CG seed. Hold on to it for a decade, and you'll make some money.
Yeah.
If you want to buy a bunch of crappy 90s comic books in the 90s and think you could turn around and sell your Spawn #1 and pay for a kid to go to college...
I think the 90s comics are fucking awesome.
Quality has nothing to do with this. This is purely investment. I mean, I'm pulling books out of this collection that we were going through, out of our back stock, and I'm like, at one point, maybe this was $20, but it's going in a dollar bin now, and no one... And it'll sit there. It's like, this is
it's because everybody has it already, or they're buying the nice omnibuses now, or
they don't care because it's shit from 20 years ago and not the thing that came out last week. That's what they care about.
It's one of those things where, you know, people are like, well, I've seen this in quarter bins. I'm like, yeah, it's because there's a ton of it.
Yeah.
You know, it's everybody collected these books, kept them in nice condition, and thought they were going to make money off of it. And you have a ton of books that are basically in pristine condition, and everybody had them.
Right. Action Comics #1 probably had a print run of, I don't know, 500,000 copies.
I think it had it higher than that.
No, I don't think so. Remember, that was early. Comic books, their print runs didn't get really high until later. I'll say 250,000, 500,000. It could be higher, but I don't know. I don't think it was that high. But I'll say 500,000 just to spitball a number there, right? Again, it could be 10 times that, but it doesn't matter. It's the percent of whatever it is. 99.9% of those books were thrown away, recycled. Not recycled, but they were put into.
A kid went, bought Action Comics #1, read it, folded it in half,
read it 600 times.
Yeah, shoved it in his back pocket, folded it in half, handed it to a buddy of his.
Yeah,
you know, they passed him around, and then when it got so beat up that everything was frayed, they threw it away.
Parents threw it away. It got put into donations for the war efforts. They got burned in book burning.
But let's say the story you just told is what I think comics should be still. That people read them to the point where they're like gone. That makes me happy because that means they've been read.
Even today, I had a guy that come in, and I'm not anything against this guy, but he was like buying a couple of these IDW X-Files comics, and he was buying one of the Star Wars, that George Lucas draft of Star Wars comic. And he's like, should I bag and board these or do something with these? And I'm like, you should read them because these will never be worth a penny. So even let's take a mid or low selling title today. Like, I'm just looking on the wall, like X Factor. I just grabbed the first book I see. X Factor sells like 20,000 copies. Of those 20,000 copies, 19,900 of those will be in near mint condition in 10 years and still on the wall. So it's the inverse, where the 0.1% get destroyed, not the 0.1% survive. And that's why old books are worth so much. It doesn't matter how many there are out there. It's just there are so few actually worth keeping.
Yeah. Because I mean, in the late 70s, early 80s, when there was that turn, you know, when comic book stores started to pop up, and there was that turn in, you know, to collecting, you know, that's when, you know, it started to it inflated the market a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, I read my books younger to the point where they're falling apart. And Charlie loaned me his Ninja Turtle trades before these nice hardcovers came out, and dude, they were in pieces.
Yeah.
Like you know, like covers is falling off. Pages might, you know, it's almost like a rabbit bit through half of the book too, and you know.
Well, I mean, even for me going through my collection now, and when I purge, and I'm like, you know what, I read this, I enjoyed it, I get rid of it. I don't think I'm going to get cover price for these. and I'm like, I put them up in lots. I don't put them up as single issues because it's not worth it to do single issues.
Yeah,
I'll put it up as a lot and start it at $1 a book because, hey, it's a whole thing for you right there. But selling haphazardly, like random, no, you're not going to make shit.
Yeah.
Now, I have a question, though. Did that guy bring his collection in organized or unorganized?
Organized, me, I got $7.50 for it. So. This is for Toby.
Oh. Hello.
Asterix and the Pix, which is the new Asterix novel, graphic novel that came out.
I'm actually very, very curious about it.
I don't know when was the last time?
It was a while ago, but it was by just the artist, though.
Right. The creator of Asterix, the writer, Renee Gosinski, I believe that's pronounced correct. I could be wrong. Died a number of years ago. And this is the first actually second. No, has there been more?
No, this one is like not done by either, I thought.
Oh, this is the first one, right. So the artist did the other ones.
Yeah, the artist. So the writer eventually the writer eventually passed on, and the artist took over both duties.
He kept doing it.
Yeah. He kept doing it on his own, and now this is an all new team altogether. Which is new. I mean, this is unheard of. I mean, for Asterix. That's like Tintin being done not by Hergé.
Right.
It's like, Lucky Luke not being done by the original guys. It's almost like mangas over there in Europe where the original creators work on the book till they're done, right? And then that's it. So it's very bizarre that these this new creators are on there.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of curious. I mean, who picked these creators? Are they like? Is it going to turn into like Marvel Comics now, where there's going to be Asterix forever, and some creators are going to be working on it, different artists? I mean,
I don't know.
Does Asterix look the same? I only read the article and I haven't seen actually any pieces of it.
Yeah, I guess Albert Uderzo, the artist, oversaw the book and drew Obelix on the cover. So
okay.
he actually drew one piece of the cover. But
so he's still kind of in charge then.
He's involved with it, but not on the creative
Maybe
end
he's just
of it.
Getting to an age where he just has to look it over as opposed to working on it himself.
Yeah, I can look.
These guys have been around for a good while,
forever. Yeah. These books have been out since '60s.
Oh yeah. I don't know offhand, but they've been around for a long, long time. Ever since I was born, there were like a dozen or 20 of them existing already, with new ones coming out.
They come out. They come out.
One every couple of years.
30 or 40 of them, maybe.
Yeah,
total. I'm actually
excellent books, though. I mean, they're just excellent books.
It is on my list. Tintin, I've read a handful of.
Mm-hmm.
Asterix is one of those that I really need to.
I almost picked the Asterix book for my book club.
Oh, did you really?
And I think next, when it comes around again, I will pick one.
Yeah, first one was 1961. Yep. So, Asterix.
Now, the first one's the art was a little different. He refined the art later on.
Okay. But the reason I bring this up is because the brand new book came out last week, or 2 weeks ago, I guess, and sold 2 million copies in a week. And I don't know if this is France only, but that's pretty damn impressive. Mm-hmm. And when we talk about comic books selling 20,000 copies in the lifetime of a single issue, I always like to point out to people manga, especially something like One Piece, that sells 5-6 million copies its first week.
Great Teacher Onizuka was like 5.8 million.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Asterix, Tintin, things like that, to sell millions and millions and millions every year, every volume.
Yes.
We have nothing like that here.
In the end, quality still matters in the end. I mean, they're just so well done. One-story books. It's not like you have to collect 6 issues and then a different creator goes on and it goes into a drought. Like Green Lantern, it goes into a drought after the Jeff Johns stuff. If Jeff Johns was writing it his entire life, I think we have something similar. Like same as like Calvin and Hobbes. It's classic.
Yeah.
It'll sell forever and ever, and that's what Asterix is.
I'm trying to.
You know what? I would compare it. It's not in the same range, but after this week's Sandman came out?
Well, Sandman would, in my mind, be one of the rare American books. And you can also put, at this point, Walking Dead and Watchmen.
But my point again, the creators are doing it. It's the original creators. It's not some random dude taking over a book.
It's not like before Sandman.
Shut up.
This actually is before Sandman.
I know.
Keeks on Twitter here says, should I read the older Sandman stuff before I read the new one? And that's actually a perfect segue into us talking about Sandman Overture #1 that me and Brock both read last week, which I would argue probably pretty convincingly that it is both of our favorite comic books of all time.
Oh, yeah.
So, Toby, you haven't read much Sandman, have you?
I have the first trade at home. I tried a little bit. I could just not do it. Yeah.
I'm going to give you the same spiel I give everyone about Sandman. I've probably said it on this podcast before, but here's my spiel for Sandman. Read the first trade.
I tried.
If you like it...
I just got halfway through. I just never made it to the end.
If you like it, read Volume 2 before you decide to buy more. If you do not like it, read Volume 2 before you decide to buy more. And I'll tell you why. Volume 1 of Sandman is very, very different from the remainder of the run of Sandman.
Okay. It's just like Superman, isn't it?
It's in the DC universe.
Yeah.
The Justice League are in it. He's fighting Dr. Destiny, who is a JSA villain. There are DC elements, like hardcore DC elements in the book. Now, here's where it changes. DC elements continue to be in the entire rest of the series. Things like Fury and Silver Scarab and the Infinity Inc. Things like, I'm trying to think of who else. There are other, those two especially, but there are other. Destiny is a pre-existing character before Sandman, one of the Endless. So there are many elements of this book going forward that are very heavily inspired by actual DC things. The problem is, you kind of are shown it in a way in that first trade that it's like he's with the Justice League. In the later volumes, if you do not know who these characters are, it doesn't matter. If you know their civilian names, or if you kind of know, oh yeah, Jack Kirby did a Sandman comic back in the 70s, you kind of have this second layer. If you don't know that Cain and Abel were the hosts of House of Mystery and House of Secret, it doesn't matter. Yeah, but if you know that, it's like, oh, this explains old DC things.
Oh, okay.
And I think he gets, especially with The Sound of Her Wings, right? That's issue 8. That's the
one with Death.
The Death issue.
That issue is amazing.
Read that issue standalone, because I think you could read that freely without even reading the first 7.
You can read that issue. You can read Ramadan.
Well, specifically that,
too.
because that is how the rest of the book reads.
Yeah.
That issue is where the shift happens, where he was given pretty much creative freedom to do whatever he wanted after that. Because before that, it still was in the DC universe, like Swamp Thing, like Animal Man, like a lot of these Vertigo books.
It's like the designs on Death, so...
Yeah.
I was always curious about her.
Yeah, the art changes every arc. He gets a different artist every arc, and some arcs are only one issue long. So the art changes constantly, some for the better, some for the worse, but usually it fits the story. Yeah. But yeah, I can talk Sandman at length. Sandman is my favorite comic of all time, and sorry, New Warriors, but yes, Sandman is my favorite comic of all time. And this new book, Sandman Overture, #1, Neil Gaiman and J.H. Williams did the art. Just phenomenal.
You know what? I read this book and I was like,
I felt like I was in high school again.
I was having this nostalgia wave just hit me, but I was literally going, if J.H. Williams just wants to redraw the entire Sandman
it's
comic book,
amazing.
I would not argue at all.
No, I love J.H. Williams. This is the art of his career.
Oh God,
this is as good as he's ever been. It's incredible. This is, as we jokingly said earlier, before Sandman.
Yeah.
This is an arc that takes place that shows how he is captured, which is how issue 1 opens of the series. So this is... I think you can get away with reading this, at least from the first issue so far, because the elements in the first issue are completely unknown, especially the end, which I won't spoil for anyone, but completely new, like not anything anyone knows.
Yeah.
So I think that if you read it, you're not going to know who all the characters are and exactly what's going on, but I think it's presented in such a fashion that you can get an idea of who these characters are. Although, again, I cannot recommend Sandman higher enough.
No, it's amazing. I mean, my first tattoo was The Key to Hell from Season of Mists.
Yeah.
Which that story arc alone, I go back to every time, just for the description pages for the Endless. Those, was it 3 pages?
I know what you're talking about. I don't remember them.
Amazing, like just It's such a good series.
Yep. Yeah. It's going to be bi-monthly. It's 6 issues. Each in between month, there's going to be a reprint of the first issue, like a director's cut thing, where it's going to be like black and white and scripts and interviews and things like that. So kind of background stories, maybe some kind of commentary on the issue itself. So I'm really excited. New Neil Gaiman Sandman. I'll
definitely give it a shot. I mean, I picked it up. I mean, I'll definitely want to check it out.
If nothing else, the art's amazing.
Yeah.
No, I definitely agree. And Neil Gaiman is one of those guys, kind of like Grant Morrison. When I've seen him speak quite a few times, I was like, it blew my mind.
Yeah.
How cool these people are.
I can listen to Neil speak. I mean, I've been to a number of readings. It's like I butter. Yeah, like I just melt when he talks.
So good.
He's incredible.
I mean, the first time, I mean, like I said, I tried his books a couple of times, and as you guys know, my English wasn't always here, and it still probably isn't. That early on, I really didn't understand just half of the stuff, so I just kind of put down a book again. Look, first time I watched Clerk, I didn't know what it was about. I didn't get any of the jokes whatsoever. So maybe it was just ahead. It wasn't time for me just yet, So I'll give it another shot. But the first time I got to see Neil speak was at a Doctor Who panel at WonderCon, and it was just like really amazing just hearing that dude talk. So I became an instant fan without even really like following his career at all yet. I was like, wow, this guy is freaking awesome.
Yeah.
So I'm very intrigued, and I definitely do want to check it out.
Yeah. There is kind of one other thing in this first issue, too, that was great. One of the best Sandman villains, which is one of his own creations, a character named the Corinthian, has awesome. Kind of we get a bit, not an origin per se, but we get a bit of a how he ended up in the situation he was in when he's in the comic. So again, we sort of get a little bit of backstory on that character, which is just icing on the cake. He is one of my favorite designs of all time. He's all white, right? He has
black clothes,
teeth, and sunglasses.
No, he has perfect teeth.
Right. Takes off his sunglasses. He has no eyes. They're more teeth. Yeah. It's 2 mouths where his eyes are. It's an awesome design.
That's kind of freaky.
He's got it kind of looks like what's his face, Snow from Planetary. It's just that all white. It's just a perfect white suit and everything like that. And
so now if I walk in next week in like total golf clothes and stuff, you know what happened.
Yeah. Hey man, this Ankh. Oh, not this. Not this.
You had this for years.
I've had an Ankh in my left ear. I've had to replace it a few times. It's broken or got lost. But since I want to say, when did I first read Sandman? 91? 92? It must have been 91.
You had that Ankh ever since I met you, dude.
I mean, I got it when I was like 12 or 13 years old. Whatever. I read Sandman number 50 was the first issue I ever read. Like on publication date.
It's Ramadan is amazing.
Yeah, I'm trying to... it must have been before that, because I must have read Sandman before that. I'm trying to see when that came out. Because that would have been a couple years before. It ended in 96, so that would have been like 94, but 93, 94? I must have read it before.
You read it. I think you read it in a freshman... Because you introduced me to Sandman when we were in high school.
And I'd read it before that, so it must have been before 50 came out. So maybe it was... I can't remember what issue it was. Why was I thinking 50? Well, either way, I've had this Ankh earring in my ear since I read an issue of Sandman when I was barely a teenager.
Yeah,
so
when you weren't supposed to be reading it.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure I've told the story on the podcast before too, but my entrance into things like Sandman and what kept me reading comics was, by the time I was like 12 or 13, I'm like, superhero comics, this stuff's garbage. And it kind of was. I mean, it was things like Hellboy and Sandman and Heavy Metal and Sin City, and that was the stuff that kept me reading comics. When I was like 13 years old and reading Sin City, probably not.
Well, it's the maturity level. Like, I mean, when I remember in high school reading Sandman and reading like Anne Rice and reading, wanting to veer away from kind of kid books and stuff like that. But it's such a gray area age, because it's like, well, there's this, but it's like, but that's not the point. The point is you're reading a story that has these components in it, but they're not the focal point of this, Yeah,
I mean, I think, that's when you find out, I mean, I was always well read. I don't know what happened, but I read a lot when I was a kid, and I was perfectly fine.
The pictures increased.
Yeah.
No, the words decreased, but the pictures increased.
Hey, man, a lot of words in Sandman. So yeah, I'll. It's always good stuff. Sandman. I'll
try and at least read the first book of the new ones for next
Yeah.
week. I'll give myself that as a homework.
Yeah, if it's awesome.
Yeah, Overture's amazing.
Yeah. One last little bit of news here before we wrap up. Shortly after we recorded our podcast last week, DC Comics announced that they will be moving the entirety of DC Comics from New York City to their Burbank offices, where I happened to have a lucky chance to visit a few months ago during the retailer meeting. So goodbye, New York. DC is going to Burbank, 100%.
Did you send your resume to be the trade? The director of trades.
I may have put an open call that if they need a West Coast retailer liaison to give me a call, they have my number. But Marvel will follow suit. The amount of rent that they have to pay in downtown New York versus just moving to an office in Disney, it'll happen. Give it a couple years, it's gonna happen. People. When DC.
With the way technology is, I mean, artists don't even need to be there.
No, the only people that are there are like editorial and I mean people flying in, but it's like with Comic-Con and WonderCon in LA now. Yeah, New York Comic-Con, that sucks that they're not there for that, but whatever, they can still go there.
Yeah.
I don't think this really affects anything. Editorial is the one big possibility.
Well, hopefully they leave what's his name in New York.
Well, Dan Didio is a New York guy, but he's been doing half and half, West Coast, East Coast. Yeah. So
no, I'm talking the other guy,
Bob Harris.
Bob Harris. They can leave him.
There was some comments. Jonathan Hickman took to Twitter that said what a perfect time to ditch your entire, like, the worst editorial staff in history.
Yeah.
And just fire them all before you when you do the transfer. However, I think Diane Nelson said that there is no change in employees coming up. It's all, if you don't want to move, you can't work, but it's your choice. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. It's 2015. It's still over a year away. But again, Marvel, you don't be talking because give it a couple of years. You're moving too. It's like don't even pretend it's not going to happen.
It's one of those things where it's like, I can understand having like a hub out there, but if majority of everything is located now on the West Coast, why don't you move majority of your operation there?
Yeah, I mean, having the heads of Marvel right there at Disney to do work there and not flying people back and forth. I mean, I guarantee you they'll do it at some point. So I think this is just we're just waiting for the right time, and DC for whatever reason it's their time. So,
but still, leave Bob Harris there.
All right, I think that's it.
Nope.
What?
We have a contest.
Oh, we do have a contest. Oh, I would do that in our going out here.
You forgot it again.
No, I didn't forget it. No, it's on my notes here.
Did we talk about everything?
But with our contest stuff, I'll get on our contest. Yes, we talked about everything. So now it's contest time. That's how I was getting to this. And of course, I closed my browser accidentally, so now it's like nothing's loading. So let me get all my info up here, and then we'll talk about this awesome contest we are going to be having here any second. So, if you remember, guys, if you guys all remember a few weeks ago, the fine folks over at NinjaBot, which is a group of a group of artists. Not exactly 100% sure on that. It seems like one guy.
No, it's a couple.
Is it a couple?
Yeah, it's a couple of people.
They did this series of art prints for like superhero, secret origins, secret identity, stuff like that, and very cool. They just finished their second Kickstarter, which we had brought up a few weeks ago, and we're talking about. Let's see. So they are going to give us. They're going to give you, the fans, the listeners, a chance at getting some of these prints that they're giving away. They have one large print and one small print. And when we pick a winner for each, we will let you guys know which ones you guys have available to choose from, and we'll get all the info sent over. So we're going to do this pretty easy. Nothing you have to do here, really. We are going to set up on the Comics Conspiracy store page on Facebook just a post saying, hey, if you guys are interested in entering in for this prize, just leave us a comment here about your favorite superhero or villain origin. You don't have to go into length. Just maybe tell us, your character, and if there's something about it you really like, just something shows us you're listening. Leave us a reply there, and we will pick a winner. I'm thinking it may also be good if we do this on the Geekbox a group page as well. So again, if you're on Facebook and you go and you search for the Geekbox, there is a fan page on there.
Don't they have to be invited to post on that
one? They don't have to be invited. They just request, because groups can't be open. So I guess you just click to sign up, and people just get put in when I see it. So yeah, I do it all the time. So again, we'll put it up there. No double entries. So if you go on one, you don't get a bonus by going on both. Just pick either one. It doesn't matter. I'm going to pull all the names together and pick 2 people. So again, thanks to the great people over there at the NinjaBot Kickstarter. And we will give you guys a chance to win some of those sweet, sweet prints. Now, it's time to wrap up. Thank you, Brock. Thank you, Toby. Next week, I really want to hear Charlie rant about Green Lantern.
I do.
I'm really excited for this.
Well, he might be out of steam after ranting on it, ranting about it on Infinite Longbox.
Maybe. We'll see. We'll see what happens. If you like this podcast and you want to listen to more episodes or this episode again, go to www.geekbox.net, where you can find all of the previous episodes, as well as episodes of The Geekbox, The Comedy Button, and Good Job Brain, other podcasts on this lovely network of ours of podcasts we're involved with. You can go to forums at geekbox.net and talk to people on the forums there, as well as that Geekbox community, closed forum community thing on Facebook. So go search for there and look for those posts. So we'll be posting up later tonight after the episode goes up. We're all doing random other crap. Brock has brocksager.com. Brock has conspirator. Brock Sager has conspiratorbrock.com. There you go.
Now, if you like to see naked pictures of Brock, go to brocksager.com. Yeah.
I do own brocksager.com. So
do you not use it? Or?
No, I just
there's a 1-800 number.
Yeah,
no, what's the port number? I don't know.
Have brocksager.com forward to conspiratorbrock.com.
I probably will.
Yeah. Omar has his blog, comicsanddecline.com. And Charlie's on the Infinite Longbox podcast. Don't forget about that.
Infinite Longbox.
And for fans of Geekbox and for fans of the Comedy Button and other great things, like to mention from time to time, Toby did some filming for the Comedy Button.
Oh yes, I need to work on that again.
They've actually updated. They're doing Comedy Button's doing a whole bunch of stuff in their video page on Facebook or on YouTube. I'm sorry.
They put titles on every YouTube video. Is kind of cool now.
Yeah. So they've been doing a lot, and so you can see Toby's stuff up there. It's the Great America trip from last year. So it's good stuff.
The Sue stuff is coming. I promise.
We're all on Twitter. Ryan Higgins, Ryan, Brock Sager, Toby is Toby XI. The rest of the guys, Charlie's Insanity and Chaos. Omar is Comics and Decline. Bryce, we'll be back in a week or two, I think. Bryce is Larson Bryce on Twitter. The Comic Conspiracy at geekbox.net. It's an email. You can send us some email. We'll read a few of them occasionally. I read one today. See?
Hey.
Nice. Thank you, everyone, for listening. I should say, I know I talk a lot about our digital comic store at digital.comicsconspiracy.
They have been having some good sales.
You're probably too late for the Sandman sale, but hopefully some of you guys jumped on that. I saw at least a few people picked up basically full runs of Sandman through us, and that is awesome. Thank you guys so much for doing that. It really, really helps when people go on that group and buy stuff. It's like $75 for the entire run of Sandman. It's like you can't beat that. It's the best deal in comic books. That is the greatest deal you will ever find. Short of like an Action Comics #1 and like a quarter bin. I mean, that is such a good book. So always keep an eye out for those. I put those up on Facebook sometimes. I put them up on Twitter whenever I see a good sale. Always check out that sales page too.
They're doing Thor this week, right?
I think so. Or that may have just been today. That's like they do like a Marvel Monday and like a Marvel Friday thing. That may have just been for today. But always check out those sales. Those are the best deals on that digital page. So good stuff. So they did a Walking Dead one a few months when 150 came out.
114 issues for $99.99.
Yeah. Again, sold a few of those. So good times, very good times. All right, and that is it. We'll catch everyone next week.